All right, what is up, Joe Mans? Welcome to Word of the Week. How you doing today?
I need inspiration, Roy. I need
Yeah,
inspiration. That's all I can say.
don't we
Actually, it's
all?
been actually it's been a pretty good day, pretty good week. I mean, all in all, it's been a little bit crazy, I guess, in the world, but particularly in the United States. But hey, don't feed into the drama, don't feed into the hype, and stay focused on the things that we can do. And once you cast your vote, it's kind of out of your hands from there, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was
So.
interesting. It's definitely been an interesting week, and who knows when we'll have some sort of an answer.
Yeah, but, well, we've done our part as if we voted, we've done our part as Americans. So now we move on to the things that we can do, and that is, in my opinion, I think we can inspire one another. That's for sure. So, word of the week this week is inspiration or inspire or whatever version of that word. But this is your word. So the deal is on these things, if you come up with the word, you get to go first.
Yeah,
And I think what we should do is every Thursday we're going to do this. I think we should put a collection of words like in a jar or something, not just words that we come up with, but hopefully our our listeners and viewers will give us some words. So if you've got a word that you want us to discuss and share, please comment, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or wherever. Um, Share a word that you'd like us to discuss. We'll put it in the jar, and then you got to check back next Thursday and see if we picked your word. Or you could just come back. It's always going to be recorded and published, or you come back and watch it later. So, what do you think about that idea?
I think that's a great idea. And like you said, my word, I get to go first. So we were talking about inspiration. Well, we were talking about which word we were going to choose today, and inspiration was the word that I was thinking about. And one of the things, the very first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about inspiration was how often I confuse the word motivation with inspiration. And so to start things off, I wanted to clarify my personal belief of the difference between the two. So that way, as we're going into inspiration, we can kind of keep that in line.
Narrow it down to what it is we're really talking about here,
That's
right?
right. So in my experience, I have found that motivation is an outside influence that pushes us to do something. So whether that's a coach or a mentor or a leader, they are pushing us from the outside to do something. Whereas inspiration is something that's coming from the inside that is pulling us to do something. So for example, I might wake up on a Saturday morning and I might see a little glint of the sunrise, and I am motivated to get out my camera and run to a spot where I can capture that, because the outside motivation is I'm feeling motivated to go capture that sunrise. But I might wake up one morning and there's just this feeling inside of me that I just need to create something. I need to get out, and I need to let those creative juices flow and just build, create, make something. And that's an inspiration. So it's inspiring me. And so what I was hoping to both of us to talk about maybe is, what do we do when we're feeling a little low and we need to build up that inspiration inside of us? Where do we go? What do we do? And I will full caveat say that there's a lot of overlap on the things I was thinking about today with motivation and inspiration, because I think that motivation can lead to inspiration. I can hear Joe in the morning get excited about something, and I can be like, okay, all right, I have to do this stuff. And then throughout the day, I have little moments of inspiration all throughout the day because of that motivation that I had from him in the morning. So that's kind of where I wanted to start. And I'm just gonna say the first one. I have a list of four places that I go to get inspiration. And so I'm going to share one, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to tell me what you feel inspiration is, and then you can give me one. And so the first one I'm going to start off with is one of my absolute favorites, and that is movies. When I watch a movie and I'm reflecting on the things that I'm learning, I am inspired often to make some sort of a either a revelation or a change in my life based on what I am experiencing in that movie. And the number one external motivator to me this week that has led to inspiration on a daily basis so far is the movie The Greatest Showman, and that culmination of, am I really living my dream or am I living somebody else's dream? And am I really following my passion or am I just following a dollar? All right, so that's me for right now. Joe, what do you think?
Well, first we got to take it back before I try to go there, because I think it's really interesting, especially with this word of the week thing that we're doing. It's interesting how, you know, they say words have meaning, and how just you explaining the difference between motivation and inspiration to you. I've never thought of it that way. I've never thought of motivation being like an external. I mean, my first, like if you were just asking me on the street, you know, what do you think about the difference between motivation and inspiration? I would actually flip those, and I would say that motivation comes from within, and inspiration comes from an external influence. So I think that's interesting that, you know, you and I do this though. We talk about things, we're you know, we're different in the beginning, and then but we're saying the same thing in different ways. So I think that's very telling of our friendship and our business relationship as business partners and stuff. And I also think that there's something to note there when we talk about, you know, words having meaning and having power, especially, you know, we see this in the marketing and communication world, right? We put a word on an ad, but that word means something different to me than it does to you. Now we have text like dictionaries and things that tell us exactly what is the meaning of the word, but the context of the word has just as much to do with it as the definition, right? Mm-hmm. So just this motivation and inspiration, how they mean, they can mean different things. So, but if I were to take your definition of inspiration and say, where do I go to get self-inspired? Is that what it's kind of, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's kind of how I read what you said, is inspiration is like self-inspired motivation, if you will. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I guess if it's what influences me to self-motivate, I would say music is very, very powerful for me. I actually, and I think that there's probably science behind this, like whatever mood I'm in, like I listen to every genre of music that there possibly is, probably genres that don't even exist. I mean, I listen to it all. And I think the different, I find myself like whatever mood I'm in, I listen to different genres of music, but also whatever mood I want to be in, I'll listen to different genres of music. Right. Yeah. So if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm trying to shake off the after lunch kind of sleepiness or whatever, I'll put something different on than when I come in the morning and I need to focus. Here's what's really interesting about that is I'll put on music that I don't know the words to if I need to focus, but I need to be inspired, but I need to focus, because if I know the words, I'll find myself singing along. My brain goes there and like follows the music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But there's something about music that it inspires me to do things, to relax, to get like amped up, to get focused. There's something about it that influences me in different ways. So music would be my number one go-to for inspiration.
I love that. And I love especially that you said that not only can you choose the music based on your current mood, but that you can define your mood by the music that you choose. I love that. That's, you know, being proactive. It's being intentional about what you're listening to match what you're trying to accomplish. I love that.
I mean, that's particularly like, because I do listen to everything, and we could probably do a whole segment on music, right? We can do a whole 30 minutes, easily 30 minutes or an hour on music.
Yeah.
But I find myself like if I would say slipping in my faith, but like, you know, if I'm like, I need to reconnect with God or something like that, right?
Yeah.
or I know I'm facing a very challenging day, right? Prayer is enough, but prayer is not enough sometimes to get that little bit of momentum I need. And so I'll turn on, like on my drive, I'll just turn on Christian music and I will pray in the car on my way to work. Then I'll shut it off and pray again before I leave the truck to get into the office. And, it just kind of sets the tone, right?
Yeah.
Like it sets the mood. And it does have a lot to do with how your day goes. But you can't let that moment when you walk through the door and it all comes crashing at you, you can't let that moment take away all of the momentum that you've gained from the thing that has inspired you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's something there because I'm like you. So when I pray, I'll also turn on like a Hillsong, like Oceans or something like that. That really is one of those like builds you up, kind of lift your eyes up above the current circumstance kind of song.
Right.
And then, inevitably, no matter what we're facing, whether that's a work conference or a great meeting or even an inspirational time alone, as soon as we leave that time, we're smacked in the face with reality, like inevitably. Somebody has an issue with what you're saying. Somebody will tell you every single reason why it won't work, whatever it is, and so I love that because we have to build up inside of ourselves to be able to be prepared for what we're going to face, right?
So then, Roy, what is the next thing you go to for inspiration? When the walls come crashing down and your momentum's getting wrecked, and people tell you you can't do it, what's your next go-to?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go out of order because the way that you asked that question, I love it. When my world's getting wrecked, where do I go to? And actually, one of my favorite go-tos is on YouTube. There are a ton of inspirational and motivational videos that people have cut together of like famous actors or people that have great speeches. And like the one in particular, it's called Absolute Motivation. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels. And so anytime that I am, starting to be beaten down or whatever, and I just need to be reminded that there's a higher call or that there's a long-term vision, I'll click on that and I'll just watch like 2 or 3 of those 5 to 10 minute videos. And I start getting pumped up. I'm like, yes, we can do this thing. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't mean to be the contrarian here, but I have to say it. Like everything we're talking about is external influence. Yeah. You're talking about the movie, you're talking about the music, you're talking about another inspirational speaker or whatever. And I'm like, these are all external influences. This is why I would gravitate, just by my definition, that inspiration is external. When I go to motivation, I look in the mirror and I say, Joe, listen, get it together, man. It ain't that bad. It's not whatever. And I'd speak to myself. And, Zig Ziglar said something, and I'm going to screw this up, so don't take this as a direct quote. But he says, somebody says, oh yeah, well, motivation is just temporary. And when you look at it like, well, so I don't believe in motivation because it's just temporary. He said, so is bathing. That's why I recommend you do it at least once a day. I think that's kind of cool, right? It's kind of funny because that's what's up. But
well, I had to, me, I get distracted. I had to look up Webster Merriam's version or whatever, or I think it's Webster, or no, this is Oxford's version. In the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. And so, it's interesting that there are different resources that define it differently. And I think that no matter what the word itself is, because like you said in the beginning, it doesn't matter what the word is. What it matters is your understanding of the word. Exactly. And actually, you and I had a phenomenal conversation. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were talking about a specific word, and I wanted to throw all these pictures to that word, and you're like, you can't do that if you wanted to appeal to the most audience, because every person has a different definition of what that word means to them. And this is a great reminder that it doesn't matter if I started saying that inspiration is external and motivation is internal, or if we even flip it on our heads, because what's the most important thing is that I think that motivation and inspiration it's either a process or a thing that gets us out of whatever we are in, that whatever headspace that we're in, to the headspace that we want to be in. So, I mean, that could be anything from I'm feeling depressed, so I'm going to go have a puppy lick my face, so I'm happy, to, you know, I'm feeling like I'm drained at work. I need to be inspired and motivated by somebody that's going to remind me that we can conquer the challenges that we're faced. And so maybe I go to that YouTube channel for that motivation and inspiration, right? Yeah,
absolutely. So since we're going down this one, no, I agree with you 100% about, you know, the words can take on different contexts for different people. And so
yeah,
the Oxford definition is kind of irrelevant in a conversation like this, because we're not really debating anything, or even debating truly what the definition of something is. But more importantly, what does it mean to me? What is the context to me? But I'm going to go down the path of external influences, knowing that they're not off the table, because that's where we are. That's really I want to go with it. So my number one, like you going to the YouTube videos and you've got your certain people, my number one motivation or inspirational dude, the guy I want to be like when I grow up, Matthew McConaughey. This dude is like
I did not think you were going there. I thought you were going to be like Grant Cardone or John Maxwell. I wasn't expecting that.
No, man, Matthew McConaughey is the man. Somebody give me a like or a comment on this. Like, Matthew McConaughey is 100% the inspiration of what I mean. He's got like a 5-minute speech on YouTube that he gave at like receiving an award sometime, and talking about, you know, the future me and chasing that 5 year from now guy and all that. Like, I've always had that mentality as far as I can remember in my you know, in my life as an adult, I guess, anyway. And just every time I hear this guy speak, like, this guy's he don't need to be a professor, but he's a professor at a university because he believes that much in inspiring other people and teaching. And the dude, like, he's the example of mastering your craft. And I was watching an interview he did the other day. Can't remember who it was with. Maybe it was with Lewis Howes. Maybe it was with somebody. I don't know. But he was talking about how he said, I was trying so hard to get a blockbuster hit, and he's like, and it wasn't getting anywhere. And he said, and then I quit. I just gave up. I said, I'm not trying to get a blockbuster hit. I'm just here because I love the art. He says, and then I got 22 blockbusters in the next 3 years. Like, that's what else? Like, if that doesn't inspire you to stop focusing on the destination and just live in the journey and do the best you can in the journey, if you're not motivated or inspired by a story like that, I don't know what's going to get you off the couch, man, or get you out the funk, man. That's why. And he's kind of like, you know, Matthew McConaughey is a little bit of a hillbilly kind of guy. Anyway, his family's from West Virginia and the foothills, and a little bit from Chicago or something like that. So, you know, that's my people. Anyway, stop rambling about Matthew McConaughey. If I ever get a chance to meet that guy, it'd be kind of cool, because I'd sit and listen to him around the campfire for days. That's my inspiration right there. I don't even need anything else except for music and Matthew McConaughey. Those are the only things we need to stay motivated, brother.
That's it. Well, you know, since I made a list, I might as well read some other things off the list, I guess.
Go for it.
Even though we really don't need to go further than that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the list don't matter anymore, right? Just get some Matthew McConaughey in your life.
Yeah, well, side note on that, if we think of actors or famous people that we tend to gravitate to listen to, you know, the one that really always inspires me is Will Smith. Like, he has amazing insights. And I watched him on Shark Week this year, and he was terrified of diving with sharks, you know, but his the conversation that he had leading up to that was how he was overcoming that fear. And not only did he overcome the fear, but he also took his entire family scuba diving with sharks, you know, because he believed so much in conquering his fears. But I love what he said. He said, I'm gonna get this wrong, but he said something along the lines of that fear cripples your ability to see beauty.
Facts.
Yeah. And it's like the first time he went diving with the sharks, he missed. He was so afraid. And then the next time that he went, he realized the beauty of being under the water and the sharks and everything, because he wasn't as afraid. And it's just like he's always throwing out those nuggets, and it's just amazing. I love that.
Well, you know what though, Roy? Like, two things on Will Smith. Number one, the dude comes from nothing. He is the example of the American dream, you know, and it's not because anything was given to him. That guy came from the worst parts of Philadelphia. He's a self-made success.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think that has made him that way is that he always wants to reflect. He never forgets where he came from. He always wants to reflect on, even when he's at his peak. He's like, yeah, I'm as far as I've come. Like, I'm as far as I've ever been. But how did I get here, and how can I go farther? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he always wants to share that. I first recognized Will Smith as kind of an inspiration a couple, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I saw a YouTube video where he was going on and on about failure. And I was like, man, this sounds real familiar. And it came from, the entire speech came from John Maxwell's Failing Forward. It's the entire John Maxwell chapter 1 of Failing Forward. I was like, that's where I know this guy from. So that was kind of interesting. Again, just to say that that's in line with, you know, where kind of you and I can gravitate towards the John Maxwell certified speakers, coaches, and trainers with the John Maxwell team. So it's not, I guess, a surprise that Will Smith falls in line, you know, with that, because he's drinking the John Maxwell Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, for sure.
And have you ever seen the movie? Man, what's the movie with him and his kid in it? I don't know.
The one you just sent me the other day, where he's the medical device salesman.
Yeah, a great movie. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you watch that movie, dude, like, come on, that's the perfect role for him.
Yeah,
because it's like, that's who he is. He's that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Well, you know, and talking about you know, you miss the beauty because of fear. You know, they say that the only you know, it's about becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know, I was having a conversation with someone about 2 years ago, and she said to me, I said, no, you just got to go try stuff that makes you uncomfortable. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I go do stuff that I'm afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like there's so much more on the other side. But I think that's just a matter of who you are, right? Like, not everybody's wired to run towards the danger, right? I'm very much am. I like stuff that makes me uncomfortable. And I don't know if that's because I was raised in such a chaotic upbringing or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like, I'm almost uncomfortable if things aren't a little bit crazy. Yeah. And so I'm most comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So I think because of that, I tend to gravitate towards the danger and go try things that are uncomfortable. But if you can do that, the first time it's like the first time you test drive a car. You test drive it and you get there and back and you're like, okay, it feels good. And you buy it, take it home. And then you start to notice things about it that you didn't notice on the test drive. Mm-hmm. That's because now you're coming more comfortable and familiar with that vehicle. And now you can start to focus less on, oh, wait a minute, where's the turn signal? And more about, what's that sound? Or it kind of pulls to the right or whatever. So once you become familiar with things, you know, that fear, that uncomfortable goes away. And that familiarity brings clarity into what's really in front of you. I imagine the same is true with shark diving. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it's I heard a speaker a couple years ago talking about that exact topic of being comfortable with the uncomfortable and to getting out of the comfort zone. And he actually every single day took a different way to work. He said for 5 years he's never taken the same way to work. And so it can be learned as well as inherited, you know. And so I think that's actually important, is the more that we face our fears, and I think this is the point that Will Smith was getting at, is the more that we face our fears, not only do we have a more full life because we're not afraid of as many things, but also we get comfortable with facing our fears. And not that it's not scary in that moment, but it's less devastating coming up against the wall of fear than it is earlier when you haven't overcome the fears. You know,
Right.
like the book, Who Moved My Cheese? And that's actually one of my motivation, inspiration categories is books. And Who Moved My Cheese is a great book. It's like a 45-minute Audible. And like my kids love listening to it because it's told in a very fun way on Audible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you're stuck in a cheeseless situation, you got to go out and find the cheese. And it talks all about how these two people were afraid to go back out into the maze and find new cheese. So one of them in particular would rather stay where he was with the no cheese situation than to go back out and face his fears. You know, I don't want to ruin the whole book because it's a great one. And if you haven't read it, you need to go either read or listen to Who Moved My Cheese. 45 minutes of your life that'll be well spent. And, but books for me are an inspiration because it reminds me of different people's points of view, and it takes me out of where I am currently into places that are possible. And the inspiration that comes from books is you don't have to stay where you are. And here's my experience on how I got there, or here's the tool that I built in a book that's, you know, completely built to sell the tool. But it's a way to enable somebody. The book I'm reading right now is called Story Brand by Donald Miller. And he talks specifically about how through advertising, we can take somebody on a journey from where they are to where they want to be. And when we stop focusing on our product and its features and trying to sell a product, the more that we're going to get traction with our viewer, because we're not going to make us and our product the hero. We're going to make them the hero. We're going to be the guide that is going to come alongside them and enable them to succeed. And so he has a whole framework around how you build your marketing message around that and things like that. But books are a great inspiration for me, and it gives me a different way to think about the things I've thought about for a long time, which moves me into a space that I've never been in before and gives me the ability to explore new surroundings.
I love that. And well, I had already referenced books when I was talking about Failing Forward. So it's a perfect, you know, we're perfectly aligned on that one. I think the thing that's really important to remember about books is, or even motivational speakers, and you and I have discussed this about attending conferences, right? You're going to read a book. It's going to tell you a bunch of stuff you already know. And you had a choice of an attitude, right? When you go into this book, I'm either going to learn something or affirm something. Those two things, there's only two things that will come out of it. I either learn something or I affirm something. And so go into it with that attitude, right? And so when you hear something that you've already heard before, or something you already know, then you come out of there saying, wow, what a great affirmation. The next question you ask yourself, what have I done with that information since the last time I heard it? Yeah. Now that could be the inspiration to go apply what you already knew, because now it is affirmed. Or you're going to learn something. Now that could be something that you learn new. In other words, I didn't know this. I believe this. I buy into this, and I'm going to go apply it now. Or it could be something you learn that you want to challenge, right? So that would be an example. That would be, hey, I've read this. I'm not sure that I buy it. I'm going to go do some research and affirm that in another way. And but coming into reading a book or attending a conference or a training or whatever, just come into it with that attitude. I'm either going to learn or affirm. And when you do that, it's never a waste of time. Getting into a book, you know, a quarter of the way into the book, and then realizing, hey, I already know all this. I've heard all this before. Then ask yourself, well, what have I done with it since I've heard it before? Mm-hmm. And maybe the next page is where the thing is that you didn't hear before. So now you can learn and affirm at the same time. So I love books. Books are, I mean, I don't love to read books because that's not me. That's not what I do. But I have Audible a few. And those are two things that always come out of it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're more of a Blinkist kind of guy. You know, give me the 5-minute overview of the 3-hour-long book and I'm good.
Right. All right. We just ran out of time, kind of, but I'm good if you're good. So I want you to get through your list because I know you prepare for these things. And when you prepare, I don't want that to go wasted. So what are the other things on your list?
Yeah, so I have to just reinforce that when I talk about books, another inspiration for me is the Bible and the Bible stories, because there are countless stories in there about overcoming insurmountable obstacles. And our faith gives us a lot of inspiration as well. And for me,
Right.
being a person of faith, I rely on Christ to give me the reassurance that I know that I'm not alone in anything that I'm facing. And so that can inspire me. But the last one actually that I wanted to bring up, though, is you, my friends, like you. Sometimes my friends are more like coaches to me than they are friends to me. And sometimes, they're friends. But friends give us the ability to challenge us. Good friends challenge us. They know that we're capable of more, and they don't let us just fall back on our excuses. Because if I was left to my own devices, I would probably just be a hermit in a cave or something like that, just feeling like the weight of the world is overwhelming. Having you as one of my best friends, you're constantly pushing me to remember the great things that I've done with my life. You're constantly pushing me to not give in to, just dumb excuses that are going to inhibit me from accomplishing the things that I know that I can do. I mean, even last night we had a conversation about one of my fears, and the fact that you said, not only do you not need to be afraid of that, but if you are afraid of that, you tell me, and I'm on the next plane and I'm here motivating you because I know that you're better than that. And I know that you can get through this. And that, to me, I went to bed last night, I wasn't afraid of anything. I felt like I could take on the whole world because I knew that my best friend was right along my side, and he knew that I was capable of doing something that I didn't know if I was capable of doing or not. And so I think that friends are a huge part of what can inspire us to get past whatever we're going through.
I promised I wasn't going to cry on the podcast. And I'm not going to, but I am going to thank you because that's a huge compliment. My life mission is to, to add value to other people, and share my life experiences and help others. So to hear that I'm doing that for someone who I value so much is huge. So thank you for that compliment. That's all I want out of life, literally. Is to be respected by my friends and family and add value to their life. So that's huge. The second thing, just to say, just to politic with you a little bit on that, is I am pretty great. Yeah, you're right. I'm just kidding. No, really. In all seriousness, your circle of influence is everything. I mean, it really does. That's why they say, if you want to be a millionaire, hang around with millionaires. You are going to be a reflection of the people that you hang around, whether that's directly or perceived, right? So your circle has a lot to do, and your circle will either beat you down or lift you up. And quite honestly, man, you and I both have this. There are people, like, I look at my circle as like a series of circles. There's people inside the tightest circle who are the people who lift me up. Then as you get farther away, they become more of acquaintances and things like that. So I got to keep those people who I'm required to have in my life, whether it's a boss or a client or whatever, those people who don't build me up, but are required to be in my life for whatever reason. I keep them in a more distant circle, right? Because and they can be family members too that you love. I mean, just genuinely love, but maybe they just have a poor attitude or something, and it's like, man, I love you, and I want to bring you into a closer circle, but I need people in that closest circle that are going to lift me up, who are going to inspire me, who are going to motivate me, who I can open up to and say, man, who are going to listen when I have problems too, and who I don't have to try to make happy. Because if there's something that I'm learning during this season of my life right now is I'm so service oriented that I don't take care of myself sometimes, and that makes it hard to be inspired or find inspiration. I find those temporary motivations, but am I really inspired? And that really does come from the people you are surrounded by. So that's I'm going to just steal your list, basically, is what I'm saying today. Because it's the same. Yeah, this is what happens, folks, is Roy does the research, and then I agree and sprinkle some color around it, and then we go on and do stuff like this. It's pretty much our entire friendship.
Yeah, and I think that just to dovetail, keywords, right? Just to dovetail on the friends thing too, is that when we are a friend, we have two choices that we can make when somebody is telling us something. We can tell them all the reasons why they're right to be in that bad place, or we can remind them of all the reasons that they have to not dwell on it. And I think that's a big difference. There are a lot of people that are friends with other people that, with all the well-meaning intention of the world, will say, that's right, you don't deserve this. That's right, you deserve better than this, or fill in the blank. And we as friends have the opportunity to say, but remember this good time, and this good time, and this good time. Or remember when you accomplished this, and this, and this. And remember what you're working towards. What are you... we talked about intentionality. Remember what you're being intentional about. You know what? I can feel miserable about the fact that I had a Reese cup, or an entire blizzard last night.
Oh, the diabetes fairy was not kind to you on that one.
I might have taken a lot of insulin last night, but I can have a friend that will say, you deserve that ice cream. You deserve that. Look how good you've been for so long, or look at all the stress in your life. You deserve that ice cream. And you know what? There are some times that you deserve that ice cream, but the friends that I want to keep personally, this is my personal preference. I want my friend to say, do you really need that ice cream? Or can we do something else? Because, you love hiking. Yeah. And hiking will get you towards the goal that you set. And you told me your goal, and I want to hold you accountable to your goal. And that is the friend that I want in my life, not the one that is reassuring me saying, oh, but yeah, it's been a bad day. You deserve that ice cream. Go get that ice cream, even if it takes you off your goal. You know what I mean?
Well, that does go, that goes to the layer. I do know what you mean. That goes to the layers of your circle, right? The people that are closest know your goals. You're not someone that goes out and broadcasts all your personal goals and or your wins or your failures. You share that with your tightest circle. So the person 3 rings out in the circle, 3 circles out, doesn't realize that you have a goal not to have a blizzard. All they see is what they see is you grinding hard, doing good things, taking care of your family. Man, I'd really like to have a blizzard. Go ahead and have a blizzard. So it doesn't make them bad.
Right.
The person inside that closest circle knows that you have a goal and are going to encourage you to backslide rather than encourage you. I'm that guy. I'll tell you, no, we're not going there because you don't need a cheeseburger. Because I know your goals. We're close enough friends that I know I do know your personal goals, and I know the things that you're trying to avoid. And I also, it's so funny when we travel. This is so much fun for me because, your wife puts me in charge of keeping you alive, literally. And you know what, Roy? I never want to let her down on that one.
I'm kind of fine.
Hey, if there's one thing I want to make good for Rachel is that promise that I'll keep you alive when you're in my, when we're traveling together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. We do have fun with it though.
Yeah.
But it's where's it coming from for me? Because I'm with you. Like I want that close friend who's going to say, Joe, I thought you were on keto, or Joe, I thought you were trying to fill in the blank, and encourage me to my goal, not encourage me in a moment of a feeling that's going to go against what, don't let what you want now. What's the quote?
Don't give up what you want most for what you want right now.
Thank you. That's where I was going with that. Yeah. So got to keep that tight circle of people who know what you want most, so they can encourage you towards that and help you through those what I want now moments.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else on your list, or should we wrap this up?
No. I think we should wrap it up.
We got other meetings to get to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think we remind everybody that whether you're watching on Facebook, or my Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, or wherever you are, we're doing a different word every week. So we're going to collect words throughout this week, and we're going to put them in a bucket. or in a cup or in a glass or whatever. And next week we'll pull it out. When we go live, we'll pull it out and we'll use that word. So Roy, you won't be able to prepare. You're just gonna have to.
I'm going to apologize in advance for my poor performance next week.
No. You do fine. It'll be less scripted, and see, don't be afraid of it. Get in the water with the sharks, man. Come on. Of course, we might be looking at each other like, I don't know what to say about this word. So we rely heavily on your comments to keep us going with our conversation here. So, but do leave a word that you want to, that you'd like to hear us discuss. That'd be kind of fun to get some words from viewers in here.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, Joe, thank you for your time this morning and sharing your insight on inspiration. Can't wait for next week.
And thank you as well, my friend. I'll catch you in our 9:30 meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.